Welcome back, friends. I'm so glad to see you again and be with you again to play some trombone. Today is a really exciting day because we're going to play through an etude, just a couple 16 measures that I threw together that can help us get started into reading music and combining that with all the fundamentals we've been going over in the last few weeks. Just a reminder, if it ever gets to be too much, you could stop the video, you could take a break, you could go back and watch some other videos, and I encourage you just to take your time. Music is a lifelong endeavor, and it is really good to treat it as a long-term journey, kind of a marathon instead of a sprint. It's okay when you mess up, that's how we learn. And so the more you practice, the more you get in front of different pieces, the more that you spend time with your tuner, like we talked about last week, the better I think it is for you in the long run. And so as somebody who has put in a lot of time with a lot of different instruments and has messed up more times than I can even fathom, I just want to take this moment to encourage you as we start to get into some of the real work of playing music and playing the trombone. So I have here with me the etude that you all should be able to have access to as well. And just want to start with some of the basics of how we're reading the music, what to look out for, and how to prepare before we actually start playing. So first things first, I like to double check that this is in fact in the bass clef. So this is written for trombone, but it's always good to be sure that you're reading the right thing, because it can really throw you off if you pick up a piece of music that's in treble clef, or there's alto clefs and tenor clefs. As you get more advanced in trombone, you can read some music in those, but they're a lot higher than what these notes will be. So want to start off and make sure that we're reading the right thing here in bass clef. The next thing I look at is the key signature, right? So sharps and flats, or sometimes there aren't any, but we here have two flats. So two flats means that we're in the key of B flat, and that is a trombonist's favorite, right? So lots of music is written in B flat, so it's easy for a good amount of instruments, especially for the trombone. So we want to make sure that we take note of that, and as your band director probably talked to you about, this means that all of the B's, whether they're on this line or above here, and all of the E's, whether on this line or anything higher or lower, they're all going to have flats. So it's good to keep that in mind, that we're always going to be using first position and not fourth position or seventh position for those B naturals. We don't need those ones. And we're thinking third position for E flat and not second position for E natural. So key signatures are really important, and they can super trip you up if you're not paying close attention. Another thing to look out for is to check the whole piece of music to see if there are any accidentals. So sometimes there might be a changed note that gives us to an E natural or a B natural, not to throw us off, but because it'll help the biggest kind of circle of the music together. So we want to double check every note here. And I don't know about you, but I don't see any accidentals. And that's good because I didn't write any. But this way we know all of our B's will be flat and all of our E's will be flat as well. So the next thing I look for is the time signature. It's helpful to know how many beats are supposed to be in a measure. And that is something I forgot to put on here. But we can still figure it out, right? So we can take a look at any measure. Let's just take this first one here, and we can count how many beats are in the measure. So we have 1, 2, 3.5, 4. So this piece is in 4/4 time. So a quarter note gets the beat, And there'll be 4 of those for every measure. And you can pick any measure and should be able to confirm that there are 4 in each of those. Another thing, kind of like key signatures, you want to check the piece to see if there are any time signature changes. So we'll check through here, see if all of a sudden we get a double bar and maybe a 3/4 or a 2/4. You normally won't switch back and forth to a different number on the bottom, right? Because that would really throw us off. But there's some music that does as you continue to play. But you can see here that we don't have any key signature changes or time signature changes, which will be helpful for us. All right, so those are kind of the basics that I start to look for. Knowing the different level of music, this was written for us as beginners. So there shouldn't be too many huge jumps or really tricky notes. And with that, just want to encourage you to take a deep breath. So we will take this piece, and it's helpful, hopefully you have a music stand at home so that you don't have to be in weird positions. We can check our body posture as we get ready to play. So I have my feet flat on the ground. I'm sitting up tall, ready to have good air. And I'll pick up my trombone so that I'm ready. You'll notice I blow on my mouthpiece. If you're like me, I have the air conditioning on in my house today. So it can be a little breezy and drafty, and sometimes it can be hot, sometimes it can be cold. So I just like to check the temperature of my mouthpiece before I play, so there aren't any horrible surprises of your lips getting stuck or slipping around if it's hot as well. All right, so we got our good posture. We're thinking about the notes, how they correlate to each other, and we know that we're the key of B flat. So we do have, all our B's are flat, so we're thinking first position, and all of our E's are flat as well, so we're thinking third position. Now, it's tempting to start off very quick, right? That we could just play it exactly as we would hear it. But I want to encourage you to take your time, start slow, so that you can hear the piece, you can have time to change between notes. And then as you look at it, you can get faster or get up to the tempo that's recommended. All right, sometimes it's helpful if you're someone who struggles a little bit with rhythm to have a metronome. You can have that clicking sound for you, or mine has a little flashing light that helps too. Just to be able to think through how the notes correlate rhythmically, and we could stay together on that as well. So I'm going to play through this for us once, pretty slow, give an opportunity to talk about anything that I might mess up, and then we'll play through it a little bit faster, and I'll give you time to go back in the video if needed, and of course ask any questions as you go through as well. So I'm going to play through this once pretty slowly. and walk through what went well. I think my tempo remained relatively consistent throughout. I saw the notes and kind of knew the positions I was going to go to. There were a couple notes where I didn't have enough air. So I like to think about that for next time, things that I could do better, have a little bit more air behind them, or maybe think through, or even mark, if I need to, the breaths to take. That way we ensure we have enough air, we're kind of thinking long term and not just how can I get to the next note. Other than that, I noticed that between the 8th bar and the 9th bar, that there's a pretty big jump, and that's helpful for me to know in my brain that I could expect it to have a bigger distance between the notes than some of the other ones. A lot of trombone for me is knowing and kind of expecting what things might sound like. That way we can match it with our instrument, with our slide positions, and especially with our mouth, with our air and our embouchure here and the way our mouth is shaped. So that's helpful for me to think about as I go through an etude. So I'm going to play through this again with a little bit more speed, keeping in mind that speed might change the way that I need breath. But overall, I'm going to be thinking about breath so that all my notes are full and don't fizzle out or end early. And just try to stick with the rhythm, matching it up really well, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so we're gonna play a little bit faster this time. So it was a little bit faster, but I felt like my air and my breath turned out better that time. Yeah, I think I was really paying attention to articulation, and there isn't a ton extra written in here, but that can still mean that I have some interpretation to make as the musician. So these are the things that I think through as I practice and as I play. Sometimes I record myself and play it back so I can hear it. Sometimes I will mark or circle notes that I missed. Like in the 12th bar, that kind of missed that partial and tried to play that D a little bit higher, almost like a G. So I can mark that, or if you miss a slide position, you could just write the little number right above the note. That's helpful for me too. You can do that with your pencil that we keep in our trombone case. And just being able to practice at different speeds, practice with different amounts of air or breaths in different places. And this is what practicing is all about. If there's one measure that's given you some difficulty, break that one out by itself. It can be really dangerous or hard for us to play a whole etude every time if really the bar we're getting stuck on is number 7. So take out the pieces that are hard and break it down, work on it, feel it, hear it, and then put it back into context with the whole thing. And this is how we play. This is how we practice. I think it's really good to know that we're not perfect and we're gonna mess up. And even if we get it perfect in just the way that we want in rehearsal, it won't always turn out that way in a recital or in a concert. And that's okay. Part of music is embracing the fullness of ourselves and kind of the complicated nature of humanity. And this gives us a chance to express who we are. Perfect and not perfect at the same time. So keep practicing, listen back if you need to, go back to other videos if there's something, a slide position that's getting you, or maybe some breath or your sitting position, and just take time. Go through it, maybe play it for your parents or guardians at home. If you have other trombonists in your class, and you're able to maybe stay after school with your band director to play through stuff. I think there's a lot of benefit to doing this in community, doing this with other people, both so they can help you and hear things maybe you can't, also so they can encourage you. It can be hard sometimes, we can get down on ourselves, but just want to celebrate that you're doing great work. Playing the trombone is really fun to me, and hopefully that you'll continue to get more comfortable with the instrument and with yourself as you continue in your studies. Good luck.